It is time for us to prove our worth to the blood god Korn. I shall take my weapon and bury it in the skull of the man across the table from me in the arena. For I am Gorechosen.
The Gorechosen, the ferocious warriors of Korn, are locked in deadly winner-take-all arena combat to prove their worth to the blood god. The players select one of the four warriors included: Radarg Bloodfane, the exalted Deathbringer; Kor Hammerskull, the Skull Grinder; Heldrax Gore-Touched, the Slaughter Priest; and Vexnar the Reaper, aspiring Deathbringer. At the beginning of each round, players are dealt a hand of 5 action cards. Each contain a move, an attack, and a special action. Then each player shuffles a number of initiative cards into the deck equal to their current Wrath rating. When your initiative card is drawn, you play one of the action cards from your hand and perform one of the 3 actions on it. When performing a move action, you can move up to a number of spaces allowed and position your facing as shown on the card. When making an attack action, consult your fighter reference card to see your kill zone, as each fighter's weapon of choice has a different range of effect. Roll a number of dice equal to that pictured on the action card, and for each die that comes up equal to or greater than your 2-hit number, you deal a number of damage equal to your weapon's damage. Opponents can often play special actions that block, dodge, or parry some or all of the damage dealt. When marking damage, whenever your health marker rounds the track, you add a wound marker to the track and draw a critical injury card that can be disastrous for your fighter. When a fighter's health track is completely full of wound markers, he falls in battle. Many actions will increase and decrease your Wrath rating, which will allow you to add more or remove some initiative cards from the deck at the beginning of each round, changing the number of actions that you can take in a given round. Each fighter has a unique action that only they can take by discarding 2 action cards. For example, Radarg's Bull Charge, or the Slaughter Priest's vile spell, Blood Boil. Once all the initiative cards have been dealt, you go back to the beginning and do it all over again until there is only a single fighter or team of fighters left standing.
Gorechosen is a very strange game because it really doesn't fit into any one single bucket. I mean, it's very simplistic of a game, and it feels kind of like it should be a filler game. But it's a filler game that could last almost an hour long if you're playing with 4 players. So it's kind of strange to kind of put this one into a category of game type. And Games Workshop seems to love to do this. They love to just push the envelope of trying different things, kind of breaking the mold of the way other publishers and game designers make their games. Sometimes they knock it out of the park, and sometimes it falls completely flat. This one in particular is actually very good, so they did a great job with this one. And just like every Games Workshop game, the components are amazing. You get 4 beautiful miniatures in the box. The 4 different fighters that you get are high-quality miniatures. Games Workshop is going to do the best miniatures in the world every time. It's just the way they are. But these are a little more complicated than you've seen in things like Blood Bowl. So there's going to be a little bit more of the assembly side, and then obviously they're unpainted, so you would have to paint them if you want to get them to that point. As far as the other components in the box go, I'm happy with everything. The cards are great. The artwork is stunning. The rule book is great. There's story all throughout it about what the Gorechosen are, about this whole arena concept, and how, you know, they're all fighting for the blood gods. There's story throughout it. The fluff is amazing in the box. My main concern about the game from a component standpoint is the board itself. Now we get this small square board. When I picture an arena combat, I picture this gigantic arena. It's circular. It's got artwork of all the screaming fans. They're screaming for blood around the arena, and everybody's fighting inside of it. But what we get here is more akin to 4 dudes in a room with axes hitting each other. So I'm a little disappointed by the board itself. It's a little lackluster, but it works for what it's supposed to work for. Now, regarding the actual gameplay of the game, I think it plays really well. It's basically just a simple combat game. There's not tons of depth to the game. It's not going to be something that you're going to be thinking about strategy after the game was over. It's more about the experience of getting together with some buddies and hitting each other with axes until everyone's dead except you. I think the game is actually very fun for what it is. So some of the standout mechanics that I see in this game are the initiative system. The whatever your wrath rating is, that's the number of initiative cards you put into the deck, you shuffle them up, and you go. I find this really cool because there's an ebb and flow to this game, because sometimes one guy, say Steve, he has 4 wraths, so he gets 4 initiative cards in there. I only have 2 wraths, so I only get 2 in there. So he's going to have a really great round of just repeatedly pounding on me while I just kind of, retreat back or maybe get one good solid hit and that's it. But then the game kind of flows as where I'm going to be that guy that has a lot of initiative cards in there later, and he's going to have less. So that makes an interesting dynamic to the game. You got to wait for your moment and go for the strike. Also, I like that you have a random initiative order here. You draw the cards. So potentially, if you have 4 wrath, you could go 4 times in a row. And that's those epic moments that you're going to be talking about after the game. Remember that round when I got 4 in a row and I just wham, 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 and just did all that damage, all those critical injury cards came out. That's the stuff that's actually very cool about the game. It's got this interesting dynamic that you don't typically see with a game like this. And the variation of fighters in the game is also interesting because each one of these guys fights very differently. If you look at their reference card, it has their range of effect with their weapon of choice on it. Some guy has a giant axe that has, some reach. He can be 2 spaces away. Another guy has to be up in your face with 2 different weapons, but he's attacking a lot. So each one of the fighters has a very different style, and it's exciting to try those out. Plus, if you get the White Dwarf magazine, there are stats for all different kinds of guys. You can get other Age of Sigmar Khorne miniatures and bring them into this game. As a matter of fact, in the back of the rulebook, it has extra fighters too. You don't have the miniatures for them, but you can get them and you can bring them into this game and you can fight with them too. So there's kind of some expandability to this game that is going to give you a little bit of a different experience every time you play. Player count's an interesting one with this game because, in my opinion, it says 2 to 4 players. 2 players is rubbish. I mean, you got one guy on one side, one guy on the other, they run to the middle and they just start hacking at each other. There's not a lot of tactics going on with that. When you hit 4 players, that's when the game starts to play really well. You can either play a free-for-all where everybody's just trying to kill each other, or you can play teams, 2 teams of 2. And what I like about that is because a game like this, where it's all about this testosterone-filled combat, the camaraderie of having teams really helps the game come out. It really helps the theme come out, and you sort of get into it, immerse yourself in this world of destroying each other with these guys. So I think that 4 players is excellent. But the byproduct of that is when you hit 4 players, the game could push a little long. It could hit an hour. It could go over an hour of 4 guys going around the table, each one taking an action, and then round after round doing the same thing. So an hour or more of combat might not be a thing. But that being said, the pacing of the game is very well done because each action that a guy takes is pretty snappy. It's pretty fast. It goes through. Play a card, take the action, next guy's turn. You keep going and going and going. So there's never a lot of downtime until you die. And that sucks because there is player elimination in this game. So you could be eliminated in 30 minutes and be sitting for 30 minutes not doing anything. You're kind of doing something because if you flip over your fighter reference card, there's stuff you can do. When your initiative comes up, you roll the die, you might be resurrected. Some other interesting things might happen. So at least you're there and engaged, but it's not as fun as actually playing. Player elimination is never a good idea, but they at least gave you something to do when your initiative card comes up. So my biggest beef with this game is simply the price. It's a $60 game. I feel like it's a $30 game with a $60 price tag on it. And you gotta ignore the components, right? Because who knows what makes components valuable to different kinds of people? You gotta look at the gameplay you get for the amount of money you're spending. And this is just simply a combat game for $60. And that could get a little tough for a lot of people to buy into. Because there's plenty of games out there for $60 or less that have a significant amount of gameplay in the box, strategies you can explore, things that you can discover as you play, and this one doesn't. It's just combat. So $60 is my only beef. I wish it were $30. All in all, the game is actually very fun. I have a great time doing it. As a matter of fact, this would be a great tournament game. Everybody could take their own character. They could have a double elimination tournament. You could even have teams tournaments and trying to go through and fight, and you could play multiple games throughout the afternoon. And this would really work well with that. I like the game a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just, price is just a little too high for me. Well, all right, that's my review of Gorechosen. If you're interested in any more board games, card games, miniature games, role-playing game discussion, please check out the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast. It's our audio show. You can find it at thesecretcabal.com or on iTunes. We'll see you next time.